All right, so I am going to demonstrate for you guys how to build an earring stand. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to show you the basic building blocks and then how to customize it. So the basic things that you must have is you need to have a base. The base needs to have a notch. You need a copy of that base with a notch on the top as opposed to on the bottom, as this one is. And then you need a stem or a trunk. And then you need branches or arms up at the top with holes for the ear wires. So let's look at how to do that. This is a 8.5 by 11 size artboard. I'm going to show you how to do it with the smallest size rectangle, which I'm just going to the rectangle tool, clicking once and then entering in my input that I would say you can do. I wouldn't make it any smaller than this, but you could go bigger. So it's going to be 3 inches wide and 4 inches tall. And I'm just gonna make it like a light gray stroke on this one. And then I'm going to lock that layer down right there. So I'm just gonna lock that layer down. Okay. Um, so that's just representing like the dimensions of the piece. And then you can make the feet or the, base of this as wide or as narrow as you want to. The narrower you get, the more tippy it will be. So let's just make one about this size right here. I'm not going to worry about aligning just yet. And then you will also at the top make the arms right here. Again, it doesn't have to be any particular shape that I'm going to show you, but let's go ahead and make that stroke black right there for both of those. There. And then you will need a stem right here or a trunk right there. Okay, so we have those three things right now built. We're going to center align them, and I'm just going to move them over to the middle of that. Okay, good. So I've got that base right there. Um, let's go ahead and unite all of these into one shape because if you give these each to the laser cutter, then it's going to cut them all out as individual pieces and we want them to cut out as one piece. So I'm just going to go to the Pathfinder tool, which if you don't see under your properties panel, you can go to Windows and do prop Pathfinder right there. But we're just going to unite right there. So now it's all one shape. And then oops, before I unite, I'm gonna do one thing. I need a second one of that same piece. So I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it. So Command or Control C and V. To minimize my space, because I'm not gonna use this space right here, I'll just put that right there. Now I can unite these three items right there. And now I can put in my two notches and I can put in my ear wire holes. The notches need to be the same width as the thickness of your material, and it's pretty standard for mat board to be 1/16 of an inch. So I'm just going to do a rectangle that is 0.0625 IN and zero point 0.5 IN. Right there, 0.5 in up. That is too tall, so let's make that 0.25. So 0.25. So it's a 1/4 inch tall. That's better. Okay. I'm going to put that one right there to the center. And then instead of unite, I'm going to select minus front. Before I do that, let's copy it and paste it. We're going to use a second one in just a second. So we're going to minus the front right there. So now it's got a slot cut out the bottom. And then if we're looking at it, let's just pretend that we are looking at this as the top. Then this slot needs to go to the top. And I am going to just select both of those and make sure they're centered to the middle. There we go. And then I can minus the top on that. And then again, I'm just going to rotate it to save myself some space. So we have a little slot at the bottom. This will literally turn 90 degrees and fit into this slot right there. So that should all be fine. Um, and then at the top, I need to put my ear wires. If I put them very close to the center, then I won't have very much space for my earrings. And if I put it all the way to the edge, it might get a little tippy. So I'm going to be somewhere, somewhere in the middle, right about there. And we are using 20 gauge to 18 gauge ear wires, depending on the person. So that size is, you can just type in 3.6 points to get a size that should work. If it's too large, then the earrings can fall out easily. But if it's too small, then of course the ear wires won't go through. So I'm just going to select, use the ellipse tool, and I'm going to say 3.6 points. Should be, oops, both sides. 3.6 points by 3.6 points. I'm going to copy and paste that. And then I am going to position this. And I need to make sure that I position them. I don't want to be too close to the edge, but I'm going to position it. Then I'm going to hold down these two, select them both. I'm going to right click and group them, or Command G, Control G. And then that and that I'm going to select together and hit the center button there. Now they are actually aligned to the middle. Right there. Then what I need to do is I can go ahead and use those, hold down Shift, and I'm going to cut them out. So now they are actually cut out of the piece. So that is the most basic way to make the earring stand. I've got two holes that my earrings can fit from. I've got a stand, and then its other base. It's going to click up into it, and it's done. If you want to see how to do something a little bit more interesting, though, what I suggest is that you find a shape that you like for the engraving. And let's go to the old internet. Let's try Pixabay. Right here, let's look under vectors. I'm just going to look for like a little flourish right here. And so you can find a variety of shapes. Let's just take one of these shapes right here. I'm going to download the vector graphic right here. I'm going to pull that up. And boom, we have it right here. So I can take any one of these guys, like let's say we do the flower one. Why not? Let's say we do the flower. And let me show you how I would build it right here. So, oh, hold down Shift to keep that from wiggling around on me. And we'll make it the same size across as this almost. Make it a little smaller. There we go. Right there. So that is one. I am going to flip it to this and just make it a little bit smaller so I can tell what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got that right there. So if I wanted that to, let's say I wanted that to be the basis of this bar right here, then I can just take this, I can go to Object, go to Path, and go to Offset Path. And then that's a little bit large. So let's say that we offset it by like 3. All right, we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to pull this to the side for just a second. And we're going to unite those pieces together. There we go. Okay, so we've got that right there, which now can be my bar. I probably would want that to be a little bit thicker. So I'm going to go back to my offset path. And I'm going to make that, yeah. I'm going to make that more substantial for sure. Let's see. I might even do 4. There we go. Okay. So let's get rid of that to start us off. I can, of course, tweak it a little bit if I want to. If I felt like maybe some of those tools weren't as nice as I'd like them to be. So let's see. There we go. I can come in with these guys. Oops. There we go. Aha. Right there. So maybe pull that in a little bit and then, yeah. Yep, so we can play around with that for sure. I would probably take some time to like make that a little bit smoother. Not quite so stilty. So I'm using combinations of the A key and the P key to make that happen. There we go. So we're starting to get somewhere with that. Right there, offset path right there. I'm going to show you what to do about this to make this come out as an engraving. And then I would probably, what's up? You look a little funny right there. No? Okay. Then I would take and you can again do the same thing for a different shape for the bottom. It just has to be flat, or have some flat spots on the bottom of it. So you could use whatever you wanted to. Let's see if we can find something easy to work from as a flourish. And again, it can be any shapes. It does not have to be the ones that I'm showing you. Um, like let's just pretend that this is the one I wanted. Download the SVG right there. And this is a free resource, so you're not violating any copyright laws by utilizing these images. Just gonna select, paste it in, shrink it down. Boom. So let's say that was going to be the bottom of my piece. And I would go again, go to object, path, offset path. Um, let's make that 5. We'll hit OK. Let's make that actually the outline. And then I want to unite that shape. There we go, unite. So again, I would need this to be a little bit flatter. So what I would do is I would go to A key or the P key, and I would start deleting all of these anchor points right here, trying to go for something much more flat. So I'm just going to remove those one at a time. It doesn't take too much time. It's a little tedious depending on what you've got, but I'm just going to keep on going till I'm 100% flat on the bottom. So it's that one and then that one right there. So I'm flat now. Whoops. Right there. Now I can, actually, I'm just going to copy this one right here. Copy paste right there. I'm going to ungroup that and only take the outline. I don't really care about the rest. Why are you included with the outline? You shouldn't be. Right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing, which is that I want that little box to cut out. So that was what? 0.0625 inches by, let's just make it 0.2 tall. 0.2. Ah, I did it again. 0.2 inches. There we go. Okay, there we go. So on, let's actually hold off for a second. We'll make the stem first. Okay. So I would take this and that, and I would center them to one another. And then you could absolutely just draw a bar down, like a little rectangle down. Or if you wanted to, you could probably like wing a shape. Actually, you know what? Let's do it from here. I'll show you how to make that shape a little bit more interesting. Right about there. Let's again align to the center. And I'm going to select this. Let's ungroup it. Let's unite those three outer shapes. There we go. And if I wanted to play around with it, I could hit my A key. I could select this right here. And I could probably do the Shift C, which allows me to address things. And then I could play around with that right there. So Shift C allows me to be in the shape adjustment tool, or sorry, the anchor point converting tool right there. So that if I wanted to convert some of those to have more of a curve to them, I could play around with that. I also could, of course, just in general, adjust the position, whoops, of that anchor point, maybe make it a little bit less narrow at the bottom, a little more stable or something like that. So I can play around and adjust that a little bit. And that's the same exact thing. The only difference is now I need to take and copy and paste that. Whoops. V key, so I don't only select half of it. Copy, paste, throw that down to the middle right here. Push. I want to make sure that those are aligned on the bottom. So align to the bottom. Cut out right there. There we go. And then right here from the top now. And I'll just go to basically that edge. That's about right. Select that. Make sure that we're in the center. There we go. And cut out again, minus my front, so that now that should slot right up into there. Oops, a little too short. So I do need to make this. You see how when I line them over one another, they don't meet together. So that means that I need to bring with my A key on, I need to bring that down to at least that length. Right about there. There we go. So that they overlap some slightly. So the V key, move that out. Okay. So, and then the same thing again, I would need to take holes. What did we say that they were? 3.6 point holes. I'm just copying and pasting them. And I would put those somewhere. Now, for something like this, there's one additional step that you need to complete if you are wanting to include these images as engravings. I'm just going to put this right over that and it'll be fine. Right there. That right about there. Select the two of those, group them, Command Control G, and then line them up to the center. There we go. Then actually just align all of that up. Aye, aye. Ah, okay, those need to be regrouped. Regroup, Command G. There we go. Okay, center. Lovely. Now that's all lined up. That is rotated right there so it can fit and use up less material while we're cutting. And then that we want to do one other thing. So everything that has a black outline, that's going to be what we tell the laser to cut. And then everything else, we're going to make that actually have a, let's make it a red outline. Outline. All right, red right there. And the same thing for this one. We're going to make that a red outline. And that is what we tell the machine to engrave onto our piece. So that is the cutting outline and that's the red outline. And that's how I would design, that's the basic building blocks of how to create one and then how to take something and make it more your own. Of course, you can go in totally other directions. As long as it's basically a T shape, you will be fine. I've had some people do some like more, like animals or other things. But that's like the way that I would do it.